Becoming dads is a journey of fatherhood. It is woven with the threads of profound moments and intricate emotions. It begins with the marvel of holding a newborn, feeling overwhelming joy, responsibility, and awe. As days turn into years, it's a path marked with countless lessons learned, patience tested, and ever deepening understanding of unconditional love.
What traditions do you have with your children that hold special meaning to you and your family?
To answer your question, I think it has been the importance of family meals, especially during the holiday. My intermediate family, which now I have my own, but we also get with my other intermediate family, the folks that I grew up with, my parents and my two other siblings and their families, and we spend time together. Fellowship is key. One of the things that is lacking with many families is that they do not fellowship. Fellowship is key because it builds relationships. It builds bonds that will last a lifetime.
So, what is one of the most significant lessons you've learned as a father?
To slow down, I think slowing down is so important. Cherishing life. I have a baby in my house now. I
You
have,
got two
yeah,
babies.
yeah, well, I got two, but the other one
A
does not
baby
like to
baby.
be called a baby.
Right, right.
I told her the other day, I said, "You're always gonna be daddy's baby," and then she told me, "I'm not a baby, I'm a big girl," and I don't like it one bit, you know.
Right.
But what's interesting about my baby, she's turning 7 months, and it's amazing how time flies. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And so with her, it's like every time she gets in my arms, she forces me to slow down. Like when she's ready to take a nap,
Hmm.
all of a sudden I'm ready to take a nap. When she's ready to move, I'm ready to move. But when she's ready to be tranquil, that's when my tranquility starts to arise. And I think that's so important. I think part of the problem is we don't realize how we put our families at risk with our careers, how we move, even to the point every man needs an outlet.
Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? You got an outlet?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I do.
You sound like you're secretive, man. But here it is. Every man needs an outlet. And so every man needs another man in their life. They need another brother who can understand, who can sympathize, who can empathize with their everyday reality. And so sometimes, even in those moments, like the ladies in our life may not understand those moments, but it's still a reminder that we still got to slow down. We got to prioritize. We have to make things the main thing. And even with our mental health, having that brother time, we also have to make that part of the priorities for our caretaking of ourselves.
I
Now
agree.
I'm curious about you, man. I'm curious. I'm curious. I'm
What?
curious. Now I'm taking over the interview, I guess, right? But tell me a little bit about you, man. I don't never get to hear about you. All I hear and see about you is you pretty much at the school where my daughter attends, and I see you in the crossroads. Sometimes I help you. I've been missing the
Yeah.
past couple of weeks, and I heard you miss me, and it made me feel so special. Had a guy, all jokes aside, walk up to me in the Target, and he told me how much he appreciated me being with you because you look so lonely. I'm just joking about that. But what he said is that he really appreciated men taking a stand and being present, and how it's kind of like even a bond, even though we're in the midst of traffic telling people to slow down or it's safe to walk, how important it is for the presence of a man to be there. And let alone, this was a white gentleman, he was talking about a black man being there, really changing the stereotype that even others have learned, negative stereotypes about us. But tell me a little bit about you, Chris.
Oh,
Since you want to shoot me a question,
I
I'll
mean,
shoot it
I'm
back.
supposed to be doing the interviewing, but I will give you a quick rundown. I have two sons. I have a 31-year-old and a soon-to-be 4-year-old. That's a huge gap.
Wowzers.
Yeah, yeah,
31?
yeah.
Man, you old enough to be my daddy, man. What's up,
so,
Pops?
so it's been like almost a blessing because I've had the opportunity to raise my first son just solely like me and him, and then I got to do it all over again with my son. This time just me and him, so I get to really embrace fatherhood wholly because it's just always just me and him. I don't have multiple kids to take care of. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm a one kid dad at a time type of person.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
That was
That's
the
who I
most
am.
brief story, and then you getting on me about no, sir. But I'll tell you this, and I wanted to add this. I appreciate you. What you do, especially with young males. I see you like even how you treat young males at the school. It means a lot to me. Truth be
Appreciate that.
told, too, me and my wife, we have a son that's deceased, and so whenever I see brothers like you, it reminds me one day I look forward to a son. I miss my boy that's deceased, and that's a story within itself. But the beauty of it is to see another man, let alone a black man, carry his responsibility and take all children as number one, God's children, but your children as well. And especially how you train these young men up. I even saw you how you deal with in your profession with kids that have some challenging behaviors, right? And how you still show love to those kids. Because when
I
they go
appreciate
home,
that.
they probably get a whole bunch of banter about what they're doing and what they're not
Yeah,
doing. But you always do it with style and grace. And I want to say I appreciate you
I appreciate
on
you,
this
brother.
film as well.
All
But the
right.
only thing I'm gonna tell y'all though, listen, there's only one good team in New York. That's Buffalo Bills, and he wouldn't let me wear my Red Sox stuff.
Don't
Go
worry, don't
Sox!
worry. We're gonna edit that part out.
First off, I would like to thank Mr. Chris Williams for inviting me to this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful piece that we're putting together as a unit of fathers. Also, I would like to thank Miss Tamika Kennard. Listen, she's in the background telling us what to do, how to look, how to be. And we are, as the old English would say, we're thankful for thee. She's terrific. And with them combined, they are doing magnificent work. They are uplifting fatherhood. Again, a word that needs to be heard, a word that needs to resound all throughout the land. Fatherhood. Fathers be fathers. Men be men. Take your time doing what you got to do. Learn what you need to learn. And it's not an easy feat, but listen, God is watching you. God is guiding you. God is keeping you. And He's allowing you to further on your journey being a father. Another thing I will say to you, because I know some people want to hear, what did I think about this, right? I think this is important. I think this is super important because fathers, you need to know that you are not alone. Many times you feel like you're facing things all by yourself. But just like I'm a man, you're a man, we're doing this together. And I don't care if it seems like, some seem like they're from the cream of the crop or some seem like they're from the guttermost. Listen, don't fall for that. Understand that we're one unit as a man and we need each other. We need each other. There's a Greek word that many of you hear, the English word or the English rendition of it. It's fraternitas. Fraternitas is the Greek word, and that's brotherhood. We need more brotherhood in society today. Brotherhood is a piece of love, Love. And I leave you with this. I love you, brother. I'm proud of you, brother. Keep going, my brother.
What is the most significant lesson you learned as a father?
Ooh, it's not about me anymore. Uh, it's about my children. It's about their overall, and I don't want to sound trendy with everything that's going on in the world, but it's about their health and well-being, their mental health and well-being, making sure that they are taken care of first and foremost before my needs are met. And that's just, I guess, a small tidbit of it. I've been a father since '91, but I also have an older stepson. So it's more of, yeah, just really making sure that even though all my kids are adults, making sure that they're good. Sacrifice. As a kid, I didn't sacrifice anything. I never wanted to sacrifice anything. my world was all about me until that one night in October 1991, I got that phone call, and at 3:45 a.m., my first child was born, and it just changed my whole life perspective. Now, did it immediately? No. I was still running wild out in the streets, doing whatever I was doing, whether it was good or bad. But I stayed focused on the part that I was a father. And being a father saved my life. I'll say that tremendously. Without going into too much of a story, but that night when my first child was born, I was off to do some crazy stuff. And I got that call, and lo and behold, the two gentlemen that I was going to do work with, one of them isn't here anymore, and one still remains to be seen. So I'm here by the grace of God, honestly, and it's my kids that keep me going, and now my grandkids.
All right, Jason, can you share a moment when you felt especially connected to your child? A memorable moment to any one of your children?
Well, obviously, the two of my biological, being at their birth, was probably the most connected I've felt to any human being besides my mother. But as far as individually, I'll start with my youngest one, just because I believe he is me. There's been a connection with him, again, since day one. And I've always been active in his life, but I think he was maybe 10 years old, and me and my wife were married. So, but I think it was 10 years old when I, excuse me, not that she passed him off to me, but I took over the realm of parenthood, meaning, all right, Mom, you've nurtured him. I know you're going to continue to nurture him. And again, I've always been active in his life since his birth. But at 10 years old, I believe it was when I decided that, all right, I'm going to take over. And taking over meant to me, well, I had to obviously give up some things that I was doing. And again, he made me, and I'll tell him this all the time, he's made me a better man, overall, a better father overall. So I don't want to say there's any one particular moment with any of them, really. With my youngest daughter, our youngest daughter, my wife was pregnant when I met her. But with the youngest daughter, it was like when I met her, when I met her, I was very overly protective of her. She would bring her to the job, and people would be trying to kiss on babies. I don't play that game, So I'm like, nah, ain't you just got finished smoking a cigarette? Get away. So me and my youngest, and I don't like to use the word stepdaughter, but me and my youngest stepdaughter have been connected since day one. My biological daughter, again, she was my firstborn. So you always have that connection with your firstborn. There's no way around it. And again, being there during the birth. So yeah, that's with her. We have two daughters, one my daughter and her daughter, my stepdaughter. And again, I don't like the term step. It took us a while. It really did take us, excuse me, it really did take us a while. maybe because of my own immaturity as a man at the time, or thinking I was a man, and really wasn't looking forward to being in the stepfather role. And I'll say that for the oldest son as well, who's also step, but my child, because I've been with them forever.
And at the time, it's unventured territory.
Yeah, so
What you're walking into.
exactly. So it took a while with the two of them. But I will say, on the night that my wife and I got married, my youngest daughter, my daughter came to me, not my youngest daughter. Well, all three of the girls came to me, actually. And asked me if they can call me dad now. And I'm like, why you even gotta ask? And so, without even getting all misty and emotional,
Let it out.
Yeah, that moment right there was the connection that I made with, you know, my daughters, my stepchildren, my children. But there were still some rough patches. There were still some rough patches here and there. But then she got involved in a relationship that wasn't so pleasant, I'll say. And I had to do fatherly duties and
Be the protector.
be the protector. And I think then in that moment there, me and her have been thick as thieves, because she knows that no matter what, and they all know, but no matter what we've gone through, I am your father. You call me stepdad, your dad, whatever have you. But I am your father, and I am here to protect you. And I had to protect her by any means necessary. And from that moment on, again, that's my girl. That's my girl. So and with each kid, you know, we have no favorites, but each one has made a different mark or impact on me in one way, shape, or form.
Right.
And I praise them for that. I commend them, and I let them know, you know, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. And I thank my children more than they probably thank me,
Right.
because again, they made me into the man that I am today. They made me into the father, which has led me to be the grandfather. I think I'm probably like the best grandfather on the face of the earth. They'll probably say different sometimes, but you know, I think I'm the best grandfather on the face of this earth. And
As you should.
yeah, the connections that I have with my grandchildren, 3 here in Massachusetts and 2 in Georgia, there's nothing you can tell me about my grandbabies. So, yeah, there's just really not one in particular moment with each of them that stands out. It's just as a overall, as a whole, as a whole. I just like to take a second minute to thank my good brother Chris Williams for inviting me to be a part of his documentary, Becoming Dads. I hope my story is influential to those who see it, and just to let you know that, you know, no matter what background you come from, being a father is probably being a parent, but being a father specifically is probably an international thing. It's no right way to do it. Obviously, there are some wrong ways to do it, and hopefully, you know, from mistakes that I've made in the past, that we all can learn and, you know, grow and become better versions of ourselves as men and fathers and husbands overall. Thank you.
So how do you navigate your role as a step parent?
How do I navigate the role as a step parent? I was a step parent twice. When I was younger, I took more of the father role at that time. It was still like 50-50 though. One was 7 and one was a baby. So the 7-year-old's older, his father's around, you know, I'm also guided him. But there were times that I stepped in as his father. The love was still there as a father. There were times when, yes, you know, it was like you kind of felt like you had to step back with him. Now, the baby, she was 1 at the time. So I got to guide her more, have more of a fatherly imprint on her than my stepson. Right now, I'm doing it again. I remarried, have two more stepchildren, grown women. So my wife and I kind of work with that behind the scenes. More of a guidance. We talk. They love me, I love them. I even have a nickname that one of them gave me, which is Papa Dex. So, and I love it. And you know, it's a blended family. It's difficult at times, but at the same time, it's not, because it's easy for me to love on people. I know what to do or what to say at the time, and sometimes I shut up and just let them go about their business.
So what advice would you give to fathers who are just coming into parenthood, fatherhood?
First thing is to be present. Get to know your kids as they grow. Guide them, but do not stunt their growth. That's very important too.
Agreed.
At the same time, if you have more than one, you have to do that for each of them. And be together as a unit. And be happy about being a father.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That was
If you're
That
not,
was dope.
they're gonna know it, and you're not gonna have that kind of influence that you want on your children.
Wow, I like that. Enjoy it. I can agree with everything you just said. Like, enjoy being a dad. Be present. Have fun with your kids. Fatherhood isn't just being financially available. It's,
Right.
It's everything.
Right.
It's going to the football, soccer, basketball games. It's going to the park, the zoo, spending time with them.
Helping with the
simplest
homework.
things, going to the park, just throwing rocks, like, just building that bond. So
Yep.
yes, I agree.
Did all that. At the same time, you have to know when to put your foot down.
Yes.
But like I said, without stunting their growth, because you do want to guide them. Because the world can be a scary place, but you don't want them to get comfortable and accept everything that comes their way. They have to make their own decisions, sometimes fail, which you learn that way too.
I'm your parent first, your friend second.
Most definitely.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that.
How do you feel about being a father?
I enjoy the journey. I enjoy it, and like I was telling one of the other dads, is because my kids are so far apart in age, I got to enjoy, and I only so I have 2, so I got to enjoy them by themselves separately. So my oldest one, I was there. I was always like none of my kids can't say I was never there. I was always there. Like, I coached his basketball team for years.
Okay.
Showed up to everything. So for me, it was just I got to really enjoy being a parent, because it was just I had one here, raised him through his journey. He's off now. He's married. And now I'm doing it all over again.
Second time. Young baby.
Yes, and I get to enjoy fatherhood again.
Okay, what's the difference in the second time than the first time? What did you learn?
The first time I was 21,
Mhm.
turning 22.
Mhm.
Still trying to be a 22-year-old out here.
Mhm.
Now I'm much older. I got a lot more patience.
Mhm.
And I took notes from the first time.
Okay.
So I know how to navigate
Mhm.
a lot better now.
Mhm.
But the one piece of advice I would give to fathers, new fathers especially, gotta learn to be patient.
Right.
Patience is it.
Okay.
Because kids don't work on your time.
Right. Right. What are the difference, the challenges, then from the first time you were a father to the second time?
First time, I was a new dad. I had no blueprint. Granted, my dad was there,
Mhm.
but you can have your dad in your life.
Mhm.
But when you become a dad,
It's much different.
it's different. It's
Yes.
different. Your dad can be with you he can walk side by side with you the whole way.
Mhm.
But once he goes home and then you're left alone with your children,
Mhm.
you gotta learn how to
You
be a
have to
dad.
learn. Yes. Yes.
And that's why I titled this show, Becoming Dads.
Okay. When I first was asked to do this documentary, I was kind of nervous. We had a phone call, we had a conversation about it, but within that conversation, I got it together and knew that I had to do this. This is something that's much needed. I thank this man for doing it. We as men and black men need to support each other, and this is going to be one of the ways, because when we talk about things like this, it helps each other. It helps one another. I wasn't a part of it last time, but I watched the last one. Being a part of it now, it's exciting, and I'm glad that I did it. Thank you.
How do you and your partner support each other in roles as parents?
Well, we're recently divorced. I've been out of the house for 3 years, but I'd like to tell people all the time that when you have children with someone, you're going to be with them for the rest of your life. Whether you like the person or not, you have to remain friendly enough that you're going to be able to co-parent, because your kids are going to graduate, they're going to get married, they're going to have kids, you're going to be around that person forever. So you have to keep the children first. So my ex-wife and I, we never really had any issues from a parenting standpoint because we always put the kids first. Kids have never seen us argue. They've never seen us in any kind of conflict. So my children, although we live separately, we still actively co-parent. So my older son's 21, so he's on his own. He does his thing. He can do whatever he wants. He comes and goes as he pleases. My younger son Devin, who just turned 15 about a week and a half ago, he really runs the world, and although we have an agreement on when he's supposed to be with me and when he's supposed to be with her, he'll say, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to your house." I'm like, "All right, dude, you got a key. Do your thing." Or, if he's supposed to be, with me, like, "All right, can you bring me to Mommy's house?" I'm like, "All right, you got it." So we let him basically do whatever he wants. And, when it comes time to talk about anything financial, it's like, "Hey, Damien needs this, this is going on with the car, or Devin needs this," you just have to do it because, those are your children forever, even as, as adult children. Like I said, my older son's 21, but if he needs something, he'll ask her or ask me, and we'll talk about it, and we just have to get it done.
So Daniel, what is the most significant thing you've learned as a father?
Wow, the most significant thing, I'm not really sure how to answer that. All I can tell you is that, my journey to fatherhood is crazy because, in my 20s, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to be a father. You know what I'm saying? I used to tell people if I do have any kids, hopefully it's a boy, and if it is a boy, I'm good. So, my sister was, she had kids early, so I was an uncle early, in my early, 17, 18 years old. And so my nieces and nephews are really like my children, you know what I'm saying? So even to this day, I've grown into the patriarch of the family, which is a role that I didn't ask for, but it is what it is. So my sister, my older sister, has 5 children. So she was having children so often that I wasn't even thinking about having kids of my own. And I had my first son at 34.
Oh
And I
wow,
was
I
like,
didn't realize he was that
yeah,
low.
it's 34. And I was just like, you know what? I got a boy, I'm good. So I tell people that that having my son at that age, I feel like I was able to give him everything that I wanted to. And only meeting my dad 6 years earlier from that, I know that I overcompensated. My sons have everything, and they've had everything from day one.
And
But
partly is because of you meeting your dad so late in
yeah,
life.
because I didn't have them, and everything that I felt like I wanted as a young man growing up from my dad, and I didn't have it. I said I'm going to give my sons all of that. They're never going to have a day where I'm not around, or have anything that I can provide that I don't provide. So when my older son was about 5, he was doing the thing where, he was complaining about, well, how come I don't have any brothers and sisters? And I'm like, dude, you got like a million cousins. You don't need any brothers and sisters. My ex-wife was like, well, I don't want him to be by himself, so I think I want to have another baby. And I'm like, you're 38. I'm 39. We can't have no kids. Are you crazy? So, being an IT person, I got a scientific brain, so I did a survey. So I asked everybody that I knew that was an only child, I'm like, do you wish that you had a sibling? And they were like, well, not necessarily growing up you don't, but later in life, if something happens to your parents, then you wish you did. So I conceded and I said, okay, fine, we can have another baby. I had my second son, Devin, at 40, and it's honestly the best thing ever. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life. And so, to answer the question, I think what I tell people is enjoy the journey. I try to slow it down and enjoy it more the second time, because the first time around it went so fast, and now I got these adult, grown, gigantic kids, young men, grown men, and I'm like, wow, that went fast. And then I just think back about all the times just driving around with my sons, and the wild things that come up in conversation, especially, Devin. And I said, you know what? I wish I had recorded that, or I wish I had wrote that down. I just enjoy the journey is what I tell people.
I gotta agree with you on that because, my sons are, there's a big age gap in them, and like you said, that it goes by fast, man. Like
Yeah.
next thing you know, this guy is telling me, I'm about to get married.
And like, what are you talking about?
Right? Like, yeah, I used to take you to basketball practice. Like, I coached this basketball team for like 10 years. Like, and now he's a married man with a house and a wife. Yeah, it goes by fast. So this time, I'm really like, I'm older, so I'm more patient. But I'm also just like absorbing all the time
Yeah,
with him. Just
and
like
enjoy
really,
it, man,
yeah, I'm really
and just
enjoying
feel
it.
it.
Yes. So, and that's one thing I would tell any father, new, old, just enjoy the time with your kids.
Yeah, I've gone from walking in the barbershop with a bassinet with my son, and my man Ty, hey, new dad, what's up, new dad? And I'm like, this little guy in the back who just like, I just didn't want to mess it up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's always the thing in the back of my mind.
That was
Like,
my goal. I
am
just
I
didn't want to
messing
mess
it
it up.
up? But
There's no
there's no rule.
playbook. There's no
There's no
rules.
book to say no. This is how you be a dad.
Yeah.
Dad is literally trial and error.
You have to figure it
Like
out.
I'm gonna mess up a whole bunch of times, but I'm gonna get a whole bunch of stuff right too.
Exactly. So enjoy the journey. So I just want to take a moment to thank Chris and thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this production. I feel like it was important to do this kind of stuff, to shine a light on fatherhood and the importance of being a father, especially a black father, because there's a narrative that black fathers are not around. They don't take care of their kids, and that's so far from the truth. I was able to, see fatherhood, from friends of mine who had children way younger than me. Chris, has a son, and I was able to see him as a dad. And I got a buddy, Ken, who had a daughter pretty early in life. And I didn't have my first son until I was 34, so I was able to see these guys and kind of use them as a guiding light on what I wanted to be as a dad. So I appreciate the fact that you're doing this. I was able to see the first, fatherhood videos that you guys had done, and I thought it was fantastic. And I appreciated the fact that you asked me to come and be a part of it. So, thank you for that.
How has becoming a father changed your perspective on life and your future goals?
How has becoming a father changed my life and my future goals? I think my immediate response would be, there's an old adage that I picked up a long time ago, and it said, once you have children, it's not about you anymore. And growing up in our city, growing up in the environments that we grew up in, growing up in the family that I grew up in that had many different structures in my home versus my aunts and my uncles and my cousins' homes, I saw different perspectives on that question. But the one I really gravitated to was the fact that once you become a parent, a father for me, it's not about me anymore. In my younger years, running through life, trying to figure things out, I think you lived in the moment, you were current, you didn't prepare for the future. You didn't understand the concepts of saving, investing, locking down your decisions so that they positively impact your future. Read many books, talked to many older folks, many folks my age, people who were parents before me, but the nervousness in becoming a father was apparent. But ironically, once I had my first child, my daughter Avery, who's 7 now, it was like this innate feeling in me that took over, and I automatically bonded through love. I automatically bonded through protection, providing, stability, sobriety, love, empathy, consistency. All those terms that you're deathly afraid of because you don't want to mess up. It just happened. And I didn't run from them. And then when they got hard, I asked questions. When they got hard, I cried. When they got hard and I succeeded, I was overjoyed. But the biggest thing I think is I have a life partner in my wife that we just continually have communication. We continually trust in our higher power. We continually use therapy. We continually converse with our children and find out what their needs are. Doesn't matter how young they are, they have needs, they have a voice. And you want to hear your voice because the dictatorship aspect of parenting was old school, and everyone wants to go back to old school, and I'm not going back to old school. There's another saying I got from my Uncle Art Jones, and he said, everyone's looking forward to the good old days. It's a powerful statement. I'm not looking forward to the good old days. I'm reinventing, I'm stopping generational curses, being a loving, empathetic father, a listening father, a compassionate father, a vulnerable father. That's the big thing, my vulnerability, my ability to say when I make a mistake, admit that to my child, and then ask them what are ways I can improve on that. And we have that partnership in our household between the 4 of us, well, maybe 5, including the dog, because he matters too. But yeah, I think that's all those things have changed, because I definitely in my teens and 20s and even the beginning of my 30s, I didn't have those conceptual thoughts and ideas. And the biggest thing, or one of the, I keep saying the biggest thing, but they're all big things. But another big thing is you can think these things, you can listen from mother on these things, you can talk about these things, a lot of chatter, but it's the application piece. Are you putting them in motion, and are you staying consistent with them?
Son, how do you prioritize self-care and maintain your own well-being while being a dedicated father?
Very important question. I think through life, we've always been taught financial security is the goal, right? Financial security, investing, saving, 401k, future. I have taken the approach of understanding that without my health and wellness, I cannot have financial security. I cannot be most impactful in my marriage, in my life, and in my job, which provides those financial blankets that we need to cover our lives. So my journey has always started with my health and wellness. My journey has always started with proper diet. My journey has always started with, or continues to press on with exercise. Diet and exercise is everything. What I put in my body, how I get my sleep, and how I exercise, and being consistent with that allows me to operate at an optimal level. And operating at an optimal level gives me the ability to wake up a new day which God has provided me, and just be a complete human being, man. And that's important to me. It starts with my health and wellness. It starts with diet and exercise. It starts with consistency, and then my hydration. So I ride my Peloton, I road bike, I run, I do yoga. I do all those things that growing up weren't the norm in our community. They were abnormal. But going against the grain, swimming upriver, is what's allowed me to be a complete husband, father, and human being that I am today.
And one of the most important things I feel like is also is, and you can intertwine it with fatherhood, is being comfortable with saying no, and not to your kids, but to things around you. I want to hang out. Your boys want to hang out, but your kids want to hang out with you too. I gotta be able to say, nah, I'm gonna hang out with my kids, or I want to do something that's personal, but it could end up affecting the kids. Disappointment. So that, to me, that's one of the things, is being able to say no and being comfortable with it.
Yeah, that goes back to what I said in the last segment. Understanding how important it is that once you have children, it's not about you anymore. Putting your kids first. And another mantra I live by is making memories. So it's not about money. It's not about it's about time. And being a father, a husband, and a provider, the most important aspect of that, and what you can give them, is your time. And your time allows you to make memories. And your memories are pathways in their brain that they remember throughout their lives. I go back to my childhood, and I remember people who spent time with me and brought me places, or we did things, and had nothing to do with money. Everyone thinks it's money, 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 money. And it's not, it's time.
Kids don't care about the money.
They don't care about the money. They just want to spend time. My daughter just wants to spend time with me. She just wants to hang out with dad. And if I have to make a choice between my friends, which it used to be a crew, and now it's a very select few. And if I have a very select few, I've chosen the wrong few if they're asking me to choose them over time with my family.
Word.
So I just, first of all, I'd like to thank Chris and Tamika for this opportunity to be a part of something so powerful. I say that it's powerful because it allows men like me to express, to validate, to verbalize what fatherhood looks like from our individual perspectives. Fatherhood, what it was in our childhoods, for what we've seen to what I've grown into today, is extremely different. Being present, being emotionally mature, having emotional intelligence, and creating open dialogue in my home, so that my young daughter here, Avery, who's 7, my son Drew, who is 20 months and coming up, understand that expressing their feelings, verbalizing their feelings, crying out their feelings, expressing anger when they have that, expressing frustration when they have that, and if they fall, you pick them up, you hug them, and you give them a kiss, and you tell them how much they love them, that you love them, because that's honestly how I feel when those times happen. This experience of me being able to express how I've evolved in my journey, starting from you know, a teenager who, and a young adult in my 20s and early 30s who struggle mightily with alcohol, to having my sobriety be at 13 years now and being a father for 7+ years, and what that journey looks like is pretty powerful for me. I'm getting a little choked up with emotion here, sitting with my daughter who's been able to really have a 7-year lifespan, that she's seen a sober father, a real father, an impactful father, a loving father, a patient father, and then sometimes a father who isn't as patient as he could be, and allowing her to express how she feels about that so she can give me a little reset, so my wife can give me a little reset, because I can tell how great my journey's been, how tough my journey's been, how great fatherhood has been for me, but there's also those lulls. And sometimes trying to stay in cruise control or even keeled isn't always the reality. The reality is that we have roller coaster of emotions, we have our struggles, we have our health struggles, our financial struggles, we have family members who, as we grow older, we start to lose. And how do we navigate all that and still be present as a father, a husband, and a provider? So I think a lot of what we have today in this setting has allowed me to express that from the heart. None of this is scripted. It's not hard because it's real. It's how I feel, it's how I live, and it's what I stand on. My only ask from our viewers or anyone who sees this is try to find something that applies to you. And if you don't understand it, ask somebody, be vulnerable, and get help that you need, get supports that you need, because we only got one shot at this here life. And my saying always is impact the lives of everyone you encounter. So love on yourself, get your health in order, which will allow you to love on your kids and your spouse, and whatever your family structure looks like, and continue to make those memories. Thank you.
Tell me, what is it that you feel? What makes it so I can't get near? Don't wanna be all in your ear, but can't leave your mind, can't leave your mind, can't leave your mind. You think of me much too highly. Look down on you as I find me. Just come as you